This is PTFC Driven, presented by Toyota. I'm Nat Borchers. We are interviewing Thorns and Timbers players to talk about adversity in their soccer careers. In this installment, we interview Portland Timbers defender Chris Duvall. Chris gives his perspective on being dropped from a team and how he was able to find his way back into MLS with the Timbers. Here's our chat with Chris. Had a great career in college. You get drafted by New York, right?
Yep.
You had a fantastic few seasons there. You guys win a Supporters Shield.
Yeah.
And then you get traded to Montreal, and then you get traded to Houston. And so you've had a couple jumps, a couple twists in the journey. But, where are you at right now with Houston? Kind of walk us back to that moment, where you're at in your career, mentally, and how you felt.
Yeah. Last year it was interesting because I was ready to leave Montreal. I was happy to see this transition, happy to see that I was getting traded to Houston. I was, excited to get a fresh start. And when I came in, the message that I received was that the right back spot was open for, competition, which is everything that you want to hear as a player, like, all right, I get a fair crack at this and I'm going to take it, And so I came in preseason, I thought I did very well. I picked up a slight little tweak in my groin and I missed maybe 7 or 10 days of training. And then when I came back, it was like I was completely out of the picture. The season was about to start and I wasn't in the 18. In training, I'd show up and we would divide the team into groups and we'd scrimmage. And I would be with the academy kids that we would just get pumped. They'd divide the team and it would be 6v6 and you'd have all the groups and then it would be me and the academy kids.
Right.
And we'd lose 7, 8, 9-0 and I'd go to the assistant coaches and be like, how am I supposed to prove that I need to be more if I'm just losing every day? I can't.
Right.
I can't prove if I'm not even close. 8-9-0 every day at training. This is excruciating. It's frustrating. I can't do anything about it.
And you were a fairly regular starter in both Montreal and New York, right?
Yeah.
I remember, we played. I played against you. I remember as well. You had a great career. Both clubs, and so you're going to this situation where you're not a starter. You're on the outside looking in.
Yeah, and I felt like I had done nothing to get there, And so I remember going to the coach and asking him what's going on? What's up with my standing in the team? Why does it seem like I'm so far off the field, not even close? And his response to me was something to the effect of, well, I don't even really know you. You're new here and I don't know what you're about. So, I don't know what to tell you. I was like, well, I'd like at least an opportunity to show you. I was here all through the preseason.
Right.
I'm coachable. We can work together,
Right.
But it didn't really seem like that was something that was going to happen. So I just had to put my head down and work and try to grind it out and hope that I'd get an opportunity. And I finally did in Open Cup. I played in the Open Cup game and we had it was a string of 3 games. We had an Open Cup game against the USL team and then a regular season game and then another Open Cup game. And so we won the first Open Cup game.
And this is summer, right? Because, you start out in the spring, you're out of the team. You're not even getting any looks. You're with the academy. And so we're fast forwarding to summertime.
Fast forwarding to summer. I've just been waiting and training and doing what I can. And then I played in the Open Cup game. I did well. We won, but it was an easy game, And then we go and we play in New England, and I played well, but we lost 1-0. And, I was thinking, well, I did the best that I could. I felt like I played my role. I did well. And then the third game in a row was the next Open Cup game against Minnesota at home. And they put Darwin Quintero on my side, which I was like, fantastic. This guy's the best player on the field. I shut him down. I'm going to prove that.
So you were excited. You were excited to see that
Oh,
matchup because I
oh,
know a lot of players would be like, self included, be like, man, I have a handful today. I'm gonna tell him the winger to come back and help me out. The center back's gonna have to tuck in.
yeah, like, but what better opportunity? Like you're gonna put me with the academy kids every day. I'm gonna show you that I can shut down the best player on the field. Like,
I love that.
what better way to put myself back in the picture? And at halftime, we're up 2-0. Darwin Quintero has done nothing. Second half, they put him up top. They move him away from me, and he had like a goal and 2 assists. We lose 3-2, and then I'm just completely back out of the lineup again, out of the 18, nothing. And so I go to the coach and I'm like, what happened? He was like, I think you played poorly in all 3 games. It just wasn't good enough. And I was like, I disagree. I thought I played very well. You know, I feel like I'm a realistic person. I'm not gonna have my head in the clouds and think that I played amazing when I played horrible. You know, I can't imagine that we're this far apart in our assessment of the game. And I'm telling him like, Darwin Quintero's on my side. We're winning. They make a coaching adjustment. They move him somewhere else, and he takes off and takes over the game. Like it's not really on me, you know. And he just disagreed, and that was kind of the end of that. And I think after that discussion, it was back to the bottom of the barrel. And a few weeks later, I was released. And I just remember thinking, like, I'm 28, like I'm not that old, you know. And you know, I've had a good career. I don't feel like I got a fair shot. I felt like I've done well. Just never was given the right opportunity. I don't know. I don't understand. I couldn't understand. And so I, you know, talked to my agent and was just like, what happens now? You know, I went through the waivers and no one picked me up, and I'm thinking.
And this is the end of the season, right? This point in
time. No, this is still in August. You know,
wow. Okay.
Before the season was over, and which I think hurt even more because it was like, you still have to pay me, so you'd rather pay me to not show up than to come in and train with the team like that. It's like, I must be a detriment to the team more than anything, which is, I mean, it blew my mind, you know?
Right.
And
for somebody with the mentality, with the mentality you had of, hey, I'm coachable, you know, I've you know, I have experience in the league, right? You know, I've had success. You've been a part of successful teams, right? And to have that, you know, kind of narrative, you're like, you know, just don't understand.
Yeah, like what? I had to have done something wrong, you know? Like, and I'm going back through my interactions with the staff, with the players, like, what did I do, you know? And even when I was released, everything was positive. It was like, yeah, we just don't think you're a good fit and whatever. And it's like, okay, so what could I have done differently, you know?
And Chris, as you're going through this process, who are you going to for help? You know, obviously, you know, man is an island. So are you going to, you know, your agent, or is it your family, or, you know, somebody else to kind of keep you ticking along?
Yeah, it's tough because in this business we have so little control. You know, all we can do is play. The rest of it is totally out of our control. And so when I talk to my family, it's a little difficult because it's hard for them to put themselves in that mindset. You know, they like to be hands-on and like, okay, well, maybe you can do this and maybe you can do this.
Sure.
I can't do any of those things, you know. But yeah, they've always got my back and they always support me. But I think the main source of my help was my friends. You know, sometimes when you end up in those situations, you're sitting and you're thinking, like, maybe I'm not as good at the game as I thought I was, or maybe I'm not as helpful as I thought I am, or as friendly as I thought I was. You know, I must be a detriment to the locker room or something. But then you have these reinforcing, you know, voices in the back of your head from your friends saying, like, no, you're doing things the right way, and if you keep doing things the right way, it'll come back to you. You know, that's what kind of keeps you going. And you know, I remember talking to my agent and saying, well, if I don't get picked up in waivers for the rest of the season, what happens? Like, I'm gonna be 6-7 months without a team, have like a 7-month off season, and expected to come into preseason fit. Like, that's crazy, you know?
Yep.
And so, his idea was, okay, we don't want you to go to USL because it's sometimes hard to go down and come back up.
Yep.
But no MLS team was interested at that point in the season. Either their rosters were full or they didn't have the money to pick me up or whatever reasons. So I ended up having to go to Oklahoma City and play in the USL, and um, it was actually a really good experience because pretty much everyone there had a story like mine, where
Mm-hmm.
they had their shot and it hadn't worked out for one reason or another, and now they're there trying to bide their time so they get another opportunity. So instead of me sitting here thinking like my situation's unique, like I just was thrown away for no reason. That's not fair, and then I come here and it's like this whole team has that exact same story. Like I'm not special. I just need to show that I deserve to be back in MLS. There's no story is going to do it for me. No one's going to believe when I say that it wasn't fair. I didn't get a shot because
Mm-hmm.
clearly everyone that has these struggles feels that way. So, it's my job to go there and do what I need to do to make it back. And so, that was kind of the discussion I had with my agent because, he's not there every day with me. He doesn't see the product that I put on the field. He believes in me and thinks that I'm good enough. And when I tell him that I've been playing well, he'll believe me. But really, the only word that he has is from the coaches that saw me every day. So he just
Right.
has to tell me, do what you need to do. Don't lose your sight of what the goal is, and we'll get you an opportunity at the end of the year. But it was tough. I think I went 7 or 8 weeks even without having a USL team.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have any room for me. There was no one that really could pick me up. I started putting the wheels in motion of what was going to happen if I retired. If I had to, I put all my things in a storage unit in Houston, moved out of my apartment, and
Mm-hmm.
was, I'm in grad school, so I was like, well, maybe I should pick up some more classes so that I can finish this thing before, I've got to retire at the end of the year.
Right.
I'm 28. I wasn't expecting this,
Right. Right. Yeah.
But at the end of the year, I thought that maybe, okay, now that once people start clearing their rosters and setting up for next year, I'll get some phone calls. And again, it was nothing.
Right. So, and how did everything go with your time in Oklahoma City? You're going from, like you said, a situation where, you're playing in the top league which is Major League Soccer in the United States. And then you're having to go down a league just to get minutes. And you said, it sounded like your mentality was fantastic because you were joining, a group of players who had gone through the same process. And so you said, you didn't feel anything special. It was just like everybody's there to do the same thing to get back up. So what was that season like, that short period of time you were with Oklahoma?
Yeah, I was only there for a month. And they picked me up because they had like a ton of injuries. I think they only had like 13 healthy players. But the guys were like, I actually knew most of the team from MLS,
Yeah.
Tiba Harris was there.
Yep.
Rafa Garcia was there. And like, there was a lot of like high quality players. And I remember getting there and being like, okay, this is real. Like this team is, I looked at the chart and they were just below the red line for playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to make the playoff push. And kind of when I stepped in, the coach kind of told me like, listen, like we've got a couple guys gone for international duty. We have a team set and we just kind of are bringing you in for numbers.
Yeah.
So, I played 2 games of the 4.
Okay.
And even then, I understood the situation I was in when I came, but still I'm thinking I'm starting 2 out of 4 games on this USL team. I've just come from MLS. I come to the USL and now I'm even sitting the bench here. Like I need to figure something out. Like this must be the end. Like
yep.
I must have really fallen from I thought that my resume would speak for itself. I've over 100 MLS games and trophies, but clearly that must not be the case.
Right. Right.
I've got to reassess everything I'm doing and figure out what I need to do to turn this whole thing around. But they treated me well there.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone worked really hard. It was a different environment than MLS, where you sometimes get guys who are managing their bodies for the game, or maybe not like pushing every day in training, or maybe more thoughtful, and so they don't use their bodies as much. And
Yep.
there it was a grind. Everyone is pushing every day.
Yeah.
You think you're going to be the guy that, okay, after training today, I'm going to do an extra workout, but everyone's working out, like
right.
Everyone is looking for that little bit that's going to give them the edge, that'll give them an opportunity to get back in MLS. And I think that, that's not much different from what I was already doing, but it kind of like reinforced, okay, you know what, if these guys are doing this, like, I need to be doing this. I'm doing the right things, and this is what's going to get me back up. Like, this is the recipe for success.
That's such a great takeaway too. I remember going abroad. I played 3 seasons with Colorado before I went to Norway to play in that league. And I remember thinking the same thing when I showed up training. In MLS, there were guys who took days off. There were, they took pro days. They were good enough technically to do that, and still start. But in Europe, in the league I was at, every single day was a grind. Every single day, like, and for a guy like me who just worked hard every single, like, I was a dime a dozen kind of guy, and I realized that, and I was able to take that back to MLS, use that in my career. And it sounds like for you, you were able to kind of recognize that, and do the same thing, which is awesome. So take us through, you end Oklahoma City time, and you said it was like crickets in terms of opportunities after that. So, what happened from that point on?
Yeah, I took a few weeks off because I think, even though I didn't play many games, the stress of the year was kind of overwhelming. There was, like, the mental side of it took a lot out of me. So I felt like I needed a few weeks to just decompress, go home, see my family, and and kind of figure things out, because I was in an Airbnb in Oklahoma City for a month. All of my stuff was packed up and moved out of Houston. Like, I didn't even really know where to go back to. Like, kind of not like homeless, but like nowhere really felt like home at this point. So I needed to go home and see my parents and just kind of get away from everything, and then just wait. And I started, once I picked up training again and started getting my body ready for the push, it was like, okay, I need to throw this thing into overdrive, but still find a way to not push myself so hard that I end up getting injured in preseason because of overload. So I was pushing, I was training hard, and literally just got one call, and it was Portland. And I remember hearing from my coach, like, yeah, this team might be interested. We'll have to wait and see. Or, this team might bring you in on trial, but we don't want you to go on trial because we feel like your resume should be enough to at least get you a contract of some sort. And everyone ended up backing out except for Portland. And Portland said, we'll give you a trial. Nothing's promised. We're looking for a backup type right back. Jorge Morero was the starter, and I'd watched him play. I played against him. He's an unbelievable player. And so I was like, okay, well, there's a position open. I need to be ready to go take it. But, of course, no promises. There were other trialists. There was, all these other things. I hadn't played in forever, and teams, I think the things I was hearing back from these other teams that showed like minor interest were, well, he's 28, which suddenly sounded old.
Right, which is crazy, because anything over 30, you get told that that's old. Okay, but you're on the right side of 30, aren't you?
Yeah. They were saying that they could find a player with less experience but also was younger and maybe they'd get a better return on investment. They were saying that, I hadn't played in a year, which was true. And maybe I'd be a step slow from that. And just a lot of things that was like, well, you can say that, but you don't know me, like you don't know how hard I work. You don't know what I'm capable of. You haven't worked with me one-on-one. And, if you just give me a chance, I'll show you that I can do more, but no one was really willing to give me that opportunity. And Portland did. And, I kind of remember telling my agent, like, it's like, okay, like there's a spot. They might not sign anyone,
Yep.
but you kind of have to go in there and force their hand.
Right.
And I don't know if that's what it was like on the other side of things. All I know is that they brought me in, so I need to show out. And even in preseason, I think I was a little bit disappointed in myself because I'm naturally, like, I think all of us are a little bit perfectionists. You go home every day and you're like, all I can think about is that one pass I missed. Like, I should have made that pass. I should have connected that pass,
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, especially in this position, like that pass might end up ending my career. This is the only team that's interested.
Right. A lot of pressure on you, right? That moment in time, right? Yeah. A lot on the line, your whole career, really.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I told Gio at the end of it was the biggest issue for me was that I went to New York, at the beginning of my career, and I played for Jesse Marsh, who I felt like had total confidence in me. And I played my very best for him,
Yep.
And then I got traded to Montreal. I think that I felt like they wanted someone else to start, but he was injured and, things happened in the team that it almost felt like they needed to start me rather than them wanting to start me. So I'm like, I'm playing, but I don't feel like you have confidence in me. So I'm trying to prove you wrong,
Yeah.
I get traded to Houston. And again, it's like I felt like they didn't want me there. And so trying to be on trial for a team and play your very best when it's been 3 or 4 years since you felt like someone believes in you other than my family and my agent who are supposed to believe in me.
Right.
It's hard to play your best and play confident when that's kind of the history that you've had in the last years. But I think, Gio, at least my relationship with him so far has been one where even before I was signed and after, he has felt like he's on my side. And whether I play or not, that's beside the point. I think as a player, if you feel like the coach believes that you can do the job if you touch the field, then, the sky's the limit. All of a sudden you're doing things that, you maybe wouldn't risk if you think that that's going to be your last pass before you get released,
100%. Yeah. And so, yeah, you talk about, that's such a great point. There's a narrative, it seems like, with every coach, and your time in Houston, it's like the narrative was, we're not going to play Chris regardless of how good, you think you're playing. Right. And there was just a disconnect there. But when you find that connection, like you did in New York or here, it's just vindication. Right. And so what did that feel like when you signed on the dotted line after going through what you went through, being released, having to go and play in the USL, and then, getting this opportunity? How did that feel to get that pen to paper?
Yeah. To be honest, I felt like when that day was going to come, I was going to have so many things I wanted to say.
Yeah.
But I was just like a bit shaky and a bit speechless, because it's like, it's a weight off, like I have been working so hard for this, and it's not even like you haven't given me anything. Like,
right.
All they did was say, yeah, you can come be on the team. They didn't say like, oh yeah, you're gonna play or anything. Like, you have allowed me to be on your team, and that shows more faith in me than I've felt in so long. And so it was just like, it was energizing, it was amazing, and it was like, I mean, unfortunately, with I think an athlete's mentality, it's like, yes, oh my gosh, this feels amazing, but that's not enough.
Yeah, right. No, it's incredible, and I mean, I love your story because it just shows, how, you can be on track, and then suddenly you can get off track, and then you find a way to get back on track. But it's so difficult, the mental part of it, and the struggle, the conversations with the agents, and how things can go different ways. But I think there's so many great takeaways, Chris, from this story. And I really appreciate you, taking the time to share with us, and certainly looking forward to seeing you back on the pitch and very soon, and seeing you continue your career.
Yeah, I hope so too. I can't wait. Can't wait.
Thanks, bud.
Nice
Really
meeting you.
appreciate it.